All right, here we go. The Lightning are coming off a win, but don't tell me the Bolts are fine. They are not. They might be fine in the future, but right now, everything is not okay in Tampa. Now, I just want to say I'm not trying to pile on here, but the amount of times that I've heard people say this week, I'm not worried about Tampa, they'll be fine, or it's no big deal, they were too good last year not to figure it out. Last year is over, and right now there are five teams ahead of the Bolts in the Atlantic, a division that we all assumed they would dominate. And it's not that they lost to the Rangers and barely beat the Devils either. It's how they lost. It's how they've played, even in some of their wins. The Bolts scored 7 goals against New Jersey, and yet Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov had 0 points in that game. As a whole, Tampa got outshot 42-23 by the Devils, who were the lowest scoring team in the league entering that game. And you know what? It's somewhat of a trend for Tampa. In 12 games this season, the Bolts are allowing more shots per game than any other team save for the New York Rangers, and we all know where the expectations lie for them. To be fair, the Bolts allowed a lot of shots last year as well, but they also took just as many. So that either makes you feel better about it, or it just furthers that theory that maybe Andrei Vasilevskiy was masking some major defensive issues last season. One way or another, for a team that's claiming to put more emphasis into the defensive side of the game, it's not a great number. Now, of course, part of this is penalties. Tampa's been shorthanded 4 or more times in 8 of 12 games this year, which wouldn't be a huge deal if their penalty kill was as dynamite as last season. But it's not. They've got the 3rd worst PK in the entire league. But maybe what's most telling, at least from my standpoint, are some of the comments coming out of the dressing room. The most recent coming from newcomer Kevin Shattenkirk. He said, "We're not going to be the team that they were last year, and the sooner we come to grips with that, we'll get past the living on what happened last year mentality, just assuming things are going to go our way." And that's exactly my point. We can't just assume Tampa's going to be fine. I mean, I guess it's one thing for the media and the fans to make that assumption, but let's hope, for their sake, the Bolts aren't doing the same. Because here's the good news. Bet you thought this whole thing was going to be negative, but you thought wrong, because here's the thing. You can't fix something if you don't know what's broken. You have to know what's wrong before you can make it right? Last year, the Bolts were having so much fun walking all over the competition, they didn't really know they had a problem. I don't think any of us did, but now they do. And hey, guess what? Fixing those problems, getting better, growth, comes with growing pains, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Last year, when it was all said and done for the Bolts, a lot of people held the belief that last season was just too easy for the Lightning, that Vazzy's goaltending masked problems with the way that Tampa was playing, that a lack of adversity left Tampa unprepared for how to deal with it. And maybe that's just it. Maybe the benefit of all this adversity now is exactly that, preparation. So that this time, come April or May, when adversity inevitably hits as it does every team in the postseason, it won't take out the Lightning in the flash of 4 games, because this time, Tampa might actually be ready for it.